years, the Israeli medical community, usually reluctant to consider such scenarios, has recently actively been preparing for the appalling possibility of several female hostages who were raped in captivity and subsequently become pregnant. I'd like to now welcome from Kfar Saba in central Israel, Professor Tal Biron Shental, the chairperson and director of the Obstetrics and Gynecology Division at Meir Medical Center in the city. An extremely difficult topic to discuss, but it's been requested by some of our viewers who have written into the station. So thank you so much for joining me and being willing to address it. I hope we can do so in a manner that takes into account, obviously, the very sensitivity of the issue.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's a very difficult topic, and I'm very sorry that we have to be in the situation of even speaking about it. But those women are raped. We know it. It's hard to talk about it, but we must talk about it. And we must take into consideration that not only they are so much hurt, they might come back pregnant with a lot of trauma that has to do with everything of being pregnant under this situation of being raped brutally. Clinically, we know how to take care of them, but that's not the only point. The law in Israel enables abortions even late during pregnancies. We know how to do it medically, and we'll find a situation that enables us to help them. Just bring them back and let us do our job. But the point is that it's not just helping them cope with an unwanted pregnancy. It's also the trauma that comes along with it, to them, to their families, to their friends. This is going to impact their whole life, and we must be prepared for that also. And as long as they stay there longer, their hardest it's going to be for us to give them the help they are so needed to get.
Absolutely. Obviously, a fortune of this is still speculation at this moment, but explain a little bit perhaps to our viewers. You've mentioned that abortion is permissible in Israel, but what exactly do the rules entail, and does it at all conflict with the Jewish state's halachic laws?
There are conflicts, but it all has to do with what women want. We definitely go by women authority to decide, and there are specific circumstances, rape is part of them, that we allow abortions even if it's lasts longer than halakha allows us. By halakha, we are not supposed to do any abortions at all. The law in Israel is a little bit more flexible to allow women who still wants it to go through an abortion. But I think that sticking to the point whether we're allowed to do it or how to technically do it is so small perspective of the problem that we must look at it at bigger eyes. First of all, women who suffer rape and have been gotten pregnant by it, they have half of their genetics in there. Most women that have been raped wish to terminate the pregnancy. Some of them, based on their emotions, beliefs, halakha, whatever comes with it, everyone is a person. We can't make the rules that will fit all of them. Some of them might have a hard time terminating pregnancy based on their own belief. So even if the law permits it, and even if as gynecologists we will be able to help them, that's not the whole problem. If some of them decide to have those babies delivered, we also can support them. But this is even a bigger trauma. The point is that letting them stay there, being raped and being exposed to all those horrible things, it's just unhuman. Every person who has even a little bit of humanity can understand that this is a horrible situation that has to be stopped immediately. And once they come back to Israel, we'll take care of them. We know how to help them as much as possible. But whatever we do, we will never be able to erase the trauma that comes along with it. So the sooner the better. It's horrible that we even have to talk about it. It's not just how to make those abortions or how to help them, but please help us do everything to bring them home, and we'll start from there.
You mentioned that abortion in and of itself is obviously traumatic for many, and the emotional aftermath that comes from being held captive in unfathomable conditions by a brutal terror group like Hamas, who also likely murdered some of their friends and family on top of that. obviously the difficulties of even beginning to tackle this turmoil, but is there a chance, given the sensitivities and trauma surrounding rape, that many won't come forward with the confession of rape, let alone a pregnancy?
Some of them won't come with a confession publicly, but in closed rooms and speaking to their relatives and to the right physicians, they will be part of, they will expose their emotions and the horrible things that they went through. I don't think that everything has to be published. This is a very personal situation. We have to imagine, we have to believe, and we have to understand that not everything that is told publicly reflects everything that has happened to them.
So, Professor, what are some of the ways in which medical professionals and institutions are currently preparing to deal with such a scenario?
It's a combination of gynecologists and psychiatrics and psychology team to support all of it. Gynecology depends on the gestational week. If a patient has been raped and it's early during the pregnancy, we can easily terminate the pregnancy with pills. We can do dilatation and curettage, but if it's late, a patient has to go through something that looks like a real delivery, and it's horrible to go through all of this procedure and end up without having a baby. And under those circumstances, the medical situation and whatever we do is not important. The most important thing is to try and help them and to give them the emotional help they will need, not only during the procedure, but later on during their whole lives. Think of their families, think of their spouses. Some of them have children. Some of them have never delivered children, but might be able to have a family later in life. And this will always be part of their lives. So we cannot ignore it. We just have to bring them back home and do everything that is within our power to help them as soon as possible. The fact that we're getting ready to help them is important, but that does not solve the problem. They have to be here so that we can give them the most help that we can. Professionally, gynecology, psychology, psychiatry, everything that they have to receive. They're kept in horrible places and position. They're malnourished. They're not getting their treatment. They're exposed to violence. They're exposed
just the most gut-wrenching thing. I apologize and thank you for joining me.